I am not Mike Labar, but I will be running today's meeting. So good morning. We're at quorum. And at this point, I'm going to go see if we can get a roll call.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Alternate Linda Gonzalez.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Present.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Present.
District 4, Supervisor Askew.
Alternate Yuri Anderson.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Here.
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Del Rey Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King City. City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City.
Here.
City of Seaside. City of Soledad.
Here.
Ambag. Here. Caltrans District 5.
Here.
Monterey Bay Air Resources District.
Here.
Monterey Regional Airport District. Monterey Salinas Transit. Here. City of Watsonville. CSUMB. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Eloise. At this point, I'm going to ask, because it might be my last opportunity to do so, Rita Gold to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the record reflect that Seaside and Carmel by the Sea have joined us. And at this point, I'm going to open up public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to share comments with us. Not on today's agenda, but within the purview of this particular body. We ask folks on Zoom to use the raise hand function if they wish to make a comment. That's *9 via landline. Looking around the room, is there anybody who wishes to make a public comment today? Seeing none and no hands raised via Zoom, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of our agenda and move to our consent agenda. Are there any members of this body who wish to pull an item from consent this morning?
I actually do, but I can't find it.
All right, I'll quickly go out and see if there's any members of the public who wish to pull an item from consent this morning. See nobody in room, no hands up via Zoom. I'll come back and check in with Supervisor Church.
Yeah, I can't remember the number for it. It's about the zero emissions and the EVs. And it was just a comment I wanted to make on that.
That's 321.
3.21. Yeah, I'm just not locating it here at the moment, but there it is. But anyway, I just wanted to point out that there's a reference to Monterey County by 2030 needing almost 12,000 recharging units. And being that we're only at like about 400, that is an enormous task to accomplish. And I think it's probably highly unlikely that we'll ever get to that, because I can't even imagine the permit process of putting in close to 11,000 units and basically 7 years for the locations. So it raises issues generally, just how, not just how Monterey County moves, but how California is moving towards those electric vehicles, and whether we even have the infrastructure to achieve what are the goals by 2035.
Supervisor, any other comments on 321? All right.
I do.
Yeah.
Does Todd have any comments to go with that?
I don't. I actually would like to defer to Alyssa. Do you have any reaction to that? I know it's a very, very optimistic number. So is there anything more to that?
Well, I can say that we've been working closely with Canva to pursue all the infrastructure grant funding programs that are coming out from the federal and state level to pursue more charging infrastructure. So that's grant projects that we're partnering on the event with, and yes, it is very ambitious, and the state has set these ambitious goals in order to encourage people to really get momentum. So I think we're, encouraged to be aggressive, but in terms of challenge, it's definitely.
So this is an issue that I think it's very high, very, Heather, do you want to?
Yeah, I just want to build on what Alyssa said. This is Heather Adamson with AMBAG. Our sustainability program manager at AMBAG, Omri Botello, is looking at all of your jurisdictions on putting together a grant that's due in a couple weeks. And it's actually for funding to identify sites. Actually, the sites will be identified, but it's funding to implement them. So I know we've been in touch with all of your jurisdictions, and if there's someone in particular you want us to talk to at the county that maybe we have not talked to, we can definitely follow up on that, because we're trying to identify as many sites as possible in all 3 of the counties, so we can go after that funding and get them implemented.
Thank you, Heather. No, I'll just chime in and say, from the macro perspective, I know that the federal government put a lot of money aside in the last few years for infrastructure investments, but it hasn't rolled out at the speeds that they hoped it would. A lot of that money was sent to the highway transportation folks through a program called Routes, specifically to address access in rural communities. And those dollars are starting to hit, but a lot of them are supposed to be routed to the committee, which is a federal committee that's not been seated yet. So there's a lot of delays in the process that were unintended when the dollars were initially put there. I think there is a vision to get them out, and I agree that this is a very ambitious goal, especially in our region where just finding parking can be a challenge as we hear often, especially within our cities where we know the local folks would be. But throughout the state, we have places that have a high visitorship, and they need the ability to get there and leave without range anxiety and that guarantee to be able to plug in and access. So I agree that it's an ambitious goal, but I do think some of the resources are being put into play. And it's a question for us as a body about whether or not we want to stand in a position to be prepared to receive and then push those dollars through our communities to give that access. It's also an opportunity as we turn to the board supervisors to bring some economic change to communities because of that access, right? We place those in the right communities as we talked about to make some great change.
Yeah, I can see we're quite a challenge to have, not just in cities, as you point out, but also in rural areas, as Bryson, Hesperia,
Yeah.
You want to have a charging system there because it's a long drive to King City.
Exactly. All right. Okay, then at this point, is there any other member of this body who wishes to pull an item from consent? We have taken this out to the public, so bringing it back, is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Second.
We take the motion from Carmel, second from Monterey. With that, Eloise, I'm answering the roll call vote.
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Aye.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Yes.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of King City. City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Eloise. All right, we concluded item 3. We're going to head into item 4, which is to adopt and present the resolution. We'll turn it over.
Thank you. This item is a resolution of appreciation for Rita Goyle, who has been our Director of Finance and Administration for the past 17 years, and she's retiring. This will be her last board meeting with us. So wanted just to take a moment to share our appreciation with her and give her our best wishes in retirement. So maybe Rita, I can read this. Whereas an employee of the Transportation Agency since July 2006, Rita Goyle has been a valued member of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County team And whereas during a 17-year term at the Transportation Agency, Rita Gold's experience and skills have contributed to the success of the agency's projects and programs. And whereas the Transportation Agency's financial management duties and responsibilities have grown significantly during Ms. Boyle's watch with the approval of the Regional Development Impact Fee and Monterey County voters' approval of Measure X. Whereas thanks to Ms. Boyle's leadership and guidance, the agency recently received a commendation from the state after an audit of the agency's finance and controls. And whereas during her tenure at the Transportation Agency as the Human Resources Director, Ms. Boyle's meticulous attention to current HR rules and regulations ensure that the agency was always in compliance and that agencies were able to make informed decisions about benefits and healthcare. And whereas due to Ms. Boyle's good financial management and philosophy to budget conservatively and recover costs aggressively, the Transportation Agency has weathered the ups and downs of budget cycles. Now therefore, be it resolved that Rita Goyle is hereby recognized for her outstanding 17 years of service to the Transportation Agency for Monterey County by the Board of Directors on this 24th day of May, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Bono. Is there any public comment on this resolution? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
A motion approved.
So I'm gonna take the motion from Monterey, a second from Seaside. Can we get a roll call vote on that, Eloise?
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Yes.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzalez. City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Yes.
City of San City.
Yes.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
I would say no, but I can't stop it from returning. So go ahead, take it.
Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Eloise. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you all for passing the resolution and approving it, first of all, and thanks to board members, past and present, for your support and unwavering guidance through the years. Also, a big thanks to my colleagues, the staff of TAMC. Everybody it's been a pleasure to work here. And I think I leave with mixed emotions. Sad that I'm leaving a great group behind, but also excited about what might be next down the road for me. And I look forward to that. And I'm proud of what we've accomplished. And I think Todd highlighted some of the achievements over the past 17 years. One of the biggest ones I'm proud of is the reserve. You know, I think we had a very small undesignated reserve when I came on board. And I think I leave it with a good, healthy balance so that the agency has money in times that might be needed. But I wish the agency much success. And this is probably not the last of me that you might see. I might show up at the board meetings, which Todd might dread. And I know there's a few skeletons and I know where they are. No, but I'll be around. I do not plan to fade away into the sunset. Thank you all for your appreciation. I appreciate it all. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make just a couple of comments.
Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you personally to you, Rita, because when I first came on board for the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, there was so much to absorb and so much to learn, and you were always there, ready to help, but most importantly, you were welcoming. Your smile would just light up the room, and I really want to thank you on a personal note for all the encouragement and the help that you've given, not just me, but I'm sure everyone sitting at this table. Thank you sincerely for your 17 years. And I think there is something fabulous out there, and it might just be the luxury of travel. So congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hats off to you, Rita. It's a difficult job for 17 years. And anybody that stays in an organization for that long of a time, it's not so much the organization, but it means that the person that's employed there is adaptable, is professional, and weathers all of the ups and downs of any organization. And you've done it so well for 17 years. We know you care, and you've been so helpful for all of us. In my tenure as the past chair, we were not ever able to meet in person because it was during COVID. And you were so helpful, always professional. And you're right, you approach this with a conservative philosophy to leave the county in great shape for TAMC, to be able to have the vision, the reserve, the balanced budget, and really we know where everything is. It couldn't have been done without your help. And so thank you very much, and we'll be seeing you at the airport.
Yes.
Thank you so
Together
much.
a few times.
Yes, thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
Yeah, just really briefly, you know, I think that the budget and how simplified you made it for us to really understand. I think, you know, when we deal with so many different funding sources, being able to look at operational funding and being able to look at program funding, you made it seamless. You made it easy for all of us to understand, I think, over the years. And I want to thank you for that, and just being there for, I think, for the majority of us as board members to really allow us to understand what we're doing when we're processing it and moving forward on some of the policies that we make, and some of the decisions we make are really simplified when a budget is understandable. So thank you so much for all of your years of service.
All right. So lastly, Rita, I just want to say thank you as well from me personally. The education. And I'm gonna say this in a weird way. Rita wasn't afraid to tell me no. And after she told me no, I said, well, why can't we use this money for stuff that's full? Right? So it came down to the budget, understanding why things were. I always appreciated the frankness and your ability to show me the why, not just saying they did the process and steps. When I first started as an alternate 10 years ago, you helped me a lot with that and helped me get a good grasp on what you do here, which helped me better understand the back end and what I needed to do at the county side. So thank you for the education, for your commitment to the students and to all the residents of Monterey County who benefit from all contribute, not just the TAMC, but the Monterey County. One more round of applause for Rita. So now we're going to move forward to item 5 to adopt a proclamation recognizing 2023 National Public Works. Just going to read this. Up to you.
Okay. I'm going to summarize the resolution that's in our agenda packet on page 142. This week is National Public Works Week, and so this is the agency's opportunity to adopt this proclamation. We consider ourselves part of the family of public works, and it's just important to take time to recognize all of your staff in your agency's public works departments who work together and deliver all the infrastructure and services to our communities that keeps us running. It's really not obvious most of the time what happens in the background. It becomes much more obvious when we have natural disasters and flooding like Pablo. All through the county staff really worked hard this winter season to keep our infrastructure running and the toilets flushing and all of the things that they do to keep life moving. So this is our opportunity as an agency to show that appreciation by adopting the resolution for this week being National Public Works Week.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this particular action item? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll take the motion from Chavez, second from Adams. Roll call vote, please.
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rey Oaks.
Aye.
City of Gonzalez.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes.
All right. With item 5 having been adopted, are there any additional comments? Okay. Hearing none, at this time, we're gonna head into item 6, which is an update on the State Route 156 project. We're gonna turn that over to Mike Zeller and Mike Luke.
Thank you. Good morning, there, members of the board. I'm Mike Dell. I'm TAMC's Director of Programming and Project Delivery. So today we have a presentation from Caltrans on the State Route 156 Boulevard, West Boulevard Interchange Project. We have Mike Liu, the Caltrans project manager for the project, here to give a presentation. He's also joined by, for some of you, a familiar face, Dave Silverberger, the office chief north for Caltrans. So they'll be going over the status of the project and kind of the schedule and where we're going and some funding updates. I'll close with some information that changes on the project funding as well. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Mike to go through the slides. Thanks, Mike.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time. I appreciate being here to give you a kind of an update of where we're at with our Highway 156 Castroville Boulevard interchange project. So with that, I think it's worthwhile to kind of give you a brief summary of what the project is, or a reminder of what the project is. So Castroville Boulevard project is our segment 1 of our larger Highway 156 West corridor. So we split up the corridor into 3 different projects. Segment 1 is Castroville Boulevard Interchange, which is what is currently in design right now and what we're talking about today. Segment 2 and 3 are currently unfunded. Segment 2 is your 4-lane widening, and segment 3 is your Highway 101, Highway 156 new interchange. Segment 1, your Castroville Boulevard interchange, this is the design that we have currently. So what we're doing here is we are removing the existing signalized intersection at Castroville Boulevard and replacing it with a brand new interchange just east of the current signal. We're also removing the at-grade intersection at Maya del Lago, creating a frontage road. Putting in a number of roundabouts through them, closing off the old Castroville Boulevard, making that into a cul-de-sac, and then putting in a number of pedestrian and bike facilities. So with that's kind of just a brief overview of the project. And I want to touch upon a few project challenges that we've come across to date. So there's Santa Cruz long-term salamander that's a fully protected species that we had to get special legislation for in order to impact the species. We needed to get a new route adoption and freeway agreement for the area because we're redoing the new we're putting in a new route, and so that had to be done in coordination with the county, which took some time to do and kind of delayed our right-of-way activities. We have worked with the Coastal Commission, with the county to get our coastal development permit, which we do have in hand now. So that's actually a big hurdle that we've jumped across for this project. We've needed to find properties for all of our mitigation requirements that come with this project. So we've had 3 different types of mitigation: agricultural species and wetland. Wetland species, well, I think I'll get that in a later slide, but we found it to be a challenge to find property just to satisfy our mitigation requirements. We still have utility relocation pending, and I will definitely get into that a little more here in a couple slides. And rising construction prices have over the past 3 years since our last estimate was done have contributed to the increase in costs of this project. But I'm bringing this all up now because any one of these challenges could have derailed the project, and we had all of them in one. So I think with all these project challenges that we have, I think it's made us stronger as far as getting this project completed. So I think we're on the right track. We just need a little extra more time and to get to the finish line here. So current status of the project, so our plans are complete. We're looking to go to the June CTC meeting for an allocation. Our coastal development permit, as I mentioned, has been issued, and that took a lot of work with working with the county and coastal commission. The coastal commission was asking for a number of things, but I think we were able to collaborate with coastal, which was a big plus for us, between working with coastal and the county in order to get an amendment to the local coastal plan. So we were able to handle that in the last month. Our Army Corps permit has been issued, which involves the wetland impacts, and we've identified property rate to mitigate for that. Our agricultural mitigation has been closed. So we purchased this Dubach property, which you're seeing highlighted in yellow, which is a really big plus for the department and for TAMC. We were able to work really fairly quickly to acquire this property, which satisfies our agricultural mitigation requirements and also satisfies an outstanding Salinas Road mitigation requirements. And we have extra to boot for that too. So this is kind of a big win for us and for everybody, TAMC and Monterey County, as far as getting this property purchased. So this will be designated. This is designated for agricultural mitigation. Our CDFW permit is still pending, but we have a plan that CDFW is really likes and they're agreeable to. So we're just waiting for the property on that to be finalized. And then utility relocation, which is the next slide, is still pending. So where we're at with utility relocation is we've been delayed for the last year and a half when getting our relocation plans for the project. We've had 7 different types of utility companies to deal with the project. 5 of them have been great to work with, and we're pretty set with that relocation plans. 2 of them are PG&E branches. Actually, 3 of the 7 are PG&E branches, but the electric transmission has been dealt with. The 2 that we are outstanding right now are the PG&E gas transmission and the PG&E electric distribution. So what's going on with our gas transmission is they normally have a long lead time to get their plans in. So we finally been able to engage with them earlier this year, late last year, to get them on board as far as getting the utility relocation plan. So I think we have a good avenue. The only thing is that their time frame doesn't match up with our time frame, which was to get to RTL ready to list for the project in June or May, And so that's kind of delaying our project. But we're hoping to have plans. We're promised to have plans by December by this year. PG electric distribution has been unresponsive as far as been working with us on this project. We engaged electric distribution in late 2021, and they finally came to the table in March of this year, 2023. And so they have finally assigned a project manager, which is great. And so I think we're going to be able to hopefully get their plans in within the timeframe that we have set for us, which is December 2023. So with that, I mean, because PG&E has had other priorities and been looking to do other things other than work on Caltrans specific projects or any projects, we're hoping to, now that we have a plan, now that we have a schedule for PG&E, we're hoping to keep moving along and pushing them as much as we can. So our current management, our chief of right away, meets with the upper management from PG&E once a month. Our right away staff has been meeting with PG&E staff every couple of weeks. Our our management, Dave and our boss, Rich, and headquarters will be pushing on PG&E to get this project expedited as much as possible. And then and TAMC, of course, has been helpful in helping us out and giving us using their resources to kind of push PG&E. So I think we're going to be making a coordinated effort to kind of make sure PG&E doesn't see this extra time as more time for them to get work done, or more time to kind of do what they've been doing previously. So we're going to keep pushing on PG&E to get work done now, and hopefully sooner than later to kind of beat our time frame of December. Let's see, let's go into the next slide. So project funding. Right now, our funding is, our current program amount is $24 million, and our project estimate came in at $42.5 million. So there's no reasons for the increase in capital costs here. The estimate that was done when we did our TSEP application, which TAMC and our planning group worked really great on, was at $24 million, and that was done 3 years ago. So in the past 3 years, and us estimating our estimates to when we go out to bid, so the next that'd be 2024. So let's call it 4 years. In the 4 years time, there's been a number of challenges that we've experienced. And one of them, the biggest one right now, is just increased unit costs across the board. I mean, we've had inflation just run rampant here in the last 3 to 4 years. So we have planned for that for our engineer's estimate, and for us, we're trying to keep up with these prices that are skyrocketing. But along the way, we've also had a number of challenges that we've come across within the project time frame the last 3 years. We've had we went out and tested some of the soil that's out there to see if it's suitable to use for our new interchange, and unfortunately, it isn't. So what that means for our project is that we have to haul off all of the soil that's out there and bring in imported material. And that's kind of a costly jump that raised up our engineer's estimate. We've had additional environmental mitigation. This whole area, as I kind of alluded to earlier, is kind of a hotbed for environmental action. So we've had to add a number of environmental mitigation items into our project. And then settlement, there's chance for according to our geotech studies for settlement within this area. So we've had to add vertical drains to this project. So with that said, I want to kind of mention that the increased price is going to be a split between the overage. It's split between Caltrans and TAMC. So for our TSEP, on our TSEP and our trade corridor enhancer program, and we've actually been approved already for our portion of the increase. And I can't stress how important that is, because the program has told us that because of everything that we've been through with this project and what this project means to the community and to Caltrans, TAMC, the county as a whole, they've approved our increase in cost. They have actually killed projects because of any kind of increase, or because of increases in general. So I think we're lucky. We're fortunate, not lucky. We're fortunate that they saw what our project does for the community and all the challenges that we jumped over, and just how great of a project is that they approved our half of the increase. So next slide. So just kind of going to the schedule where we're at right now. So we had to put in a at-risk allocation for the CTC meeting. What that means is not only does the TSAP program think that this is a worthwhile project, the CTC staff also thinks this is a worthwhile project. They're the ones that came up with this creative funding for creative funding for this project. So with the TSAP program, the funding ends on June next month, June 2023. We've already exhausted our one-time time extension for it. And so CTC staff put their heads together and came up with an idea of going to the June CTC meeting for an at-risk allocation with a 12-month time extension to award. So what that means is we can go to allocation in June, which happened really quickly, and we have 12 months to get our utility issues resolved, to cert the project, and to award the project by June of 2024. So that's the game plan that we have right now. Going through the schedule, like I said, December is when we hope to get our final PG plans. January is when we hope to get our right of way cert, and when we're ready to risk the project. April will advertise. April will advertise, and May will open bids and in hopes of getting to a June award. So that's kind of the schedule what we have so far. And then I think Mike, would you mind?
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the overview on the project. So as Mike mentioned, there was a $18 million cost increase to the project. What was included in the agenda packet for today was initially a 50-50 split of those shares between Caltrans covering half of that 18 million and TAMC covering the other half. So the agenda has a request for an increase of $9 million. Yesterday, we received some new information from Caltrans about how they are considering the split for the costs. We have what's called a baseline agreement that we entered into with Caltrans and the California Transportation Commission back in 2021 when we first received the funds. The baseline agreement essentially says that if there are any overages in the project costs, that state will cover its share based on its share of trade corridor enhancement programming funds. So that would essentially be what you see on the bottom line, construction total of Caltrans's total trade corridors funding is the 14.4 million. TAMC is contributing another just over 15 million, so it'll be about a 50-50 split. The information that we received yesterday is that since the cost overruns, the $18 million cost overruns are specific to the construction capital, so that top line, that Caltrans' share of construction capital is only 10 million. And TAMC's share is the 13.5. So that changes the split to 56% for TAMC and then 44% for Caltrans. What that means is if we're looking at a 56% share for TAMC, the share of that $18 million cost increase would be $10.3 million. So it's different from what's requested in the agenda packet. The good news, such as it is that we do have sufficient Measure X funds dedicated to this project to be able to cover this cost increase, which obviously would not have been the case previously. So fortunate there that we're able to, that we would be able to provide this with the other consideration is, Mike mentioned, we're trying to get to the June CTC meeting for the at-risk construction allocation. The June CTC meeting is the same date as our board meeting in June, so that's why we're bringing this question to you today, because to be able to get to that June meeting, we have to show that the project is otherwise fully funded. So this is a key consideration to be able to keep this moving forward to get its construction allocation from the California Transportation Commission. Requesting a modified action from what is in the board agenda. We're asking the board to consider programming up to an additional 10.361 million in regional Measure X funds to cover TAMC's share of the increased cost estimates. And then also to direct staff to continue negotiations with Caltrans over the cost share percentages. Since we just received this information just recently, we'd like to be able to have some direction from the board to continue discussions with Caltrans to see what flexibility there is in that language that's in the baseline agreement, if the interpretation of it is correct, or just to get some comfort level at staff to share what is calculated and then it's being applied consistently. So the modified action is today. I'd be happy to take any question.
I'm gonna go to City Services.
Yes, I have a question. Obviously, since our agenda was printed, we've gone up 1.3 million. So how much is this going to go up in the next year? I mean, you know, we still haven't got the work done from PG&E. And they slow us down a little bit more. And I mean, the funds are jumping rather quickly. In the last couple of years, it's gone up 17 million. So
Great question. And there's always that chance that it's gonna go up, right? Because this is our construction estimate, but we take that into account whenever we put in our final estimate into our allocation request. So what we can't control is how the bidding environment is next year. It can go up, it can go down, right? But what we've trying to explain, and I apologize for not doing it so well, is that we're trying to keep up with the costs, and so that price that you see is keeping up with the costs for next year.
okay, so this is what you're anticipating.
Yes.
For 2020. Okay, or we'll be seeing you again.
Potentially.
We hope that you will see us again.
All right, thank you.
We go to District 2 and then District 5.
Yeah, I don't see a breakdown on the costs inside here, so it kind of makes it difficult to understand what's happened. And actually projected into next year as well. It's a 75% increase. And I know we've had inflation. Inflation hasn't gone up quite 75%. So this is a really big jump of what's going on. And let me ask you then, of this 18 million, I mean, of all the costs that are involved in it, because we don't have a breakdown of the specific needs, what is really driving this 18 million?
No problem. So I'm going to go back a couple of slides here and kind of break it down a little more. So I'll go from the bottom to the top because I have exact numbers for these, and these are only the major increases that I put down. I don't want to list down everything that's gone up because a lot of things have gone up and there's been a lot of changes. But for these vertical drains that we're looking at, that's $2.7 million. Additional environmental mitigation is 1.7, and the import borrow along with the additional removal of the material is about $5.6 million. So we're looking just with these three items about a little under $10 million. And then if you add in the increased unit costs from our 2020 estimate to 2024, it kind of adds up at that point. So
You say it's 5.6 million for the removing and bringing in soil.
yes,
And when was that study done?
that was done post. It was done during the pandemic. I can't remember the exact date, but I think I would say around 2020.
And I mean, when you do a project like this, you know there's going to be a need for soil. I don't mean to be really critical, but I'm just not quite sure why this wasn't studied ahead of time.
Sure, and that's fair because our geotechnical studies weren't done until after our application was put in when we had our program for original 24 million input. So we were anticipating using what was on site, and since what's on site is unsuitable now, we that's where the number jumped in.
Yeah.
And because of the way that the TSEP program is structured, we're kind of stuck at that point with the $24 million.
We can't do studies ahead of time to see whether that soil is available.
We try, we do. Yes.
It seems that it's a big chunk there. And how many cubic yards are involved that have to be removed and brought on?
That not right on that. I'm not quite sure, but I can get you that. It's a lot because we're talking about building a brand new, building up a brand new interchange from basically ground zero. And it's about 20 feet up in the air.
I was just gonna add real quick, I think one of the things that made it really tough is that when the TSIP application came, we kind of got frozen in time in terms of, we had to come up with our best estimate. And then we kind of got locked in to that estimate, whereas if we had been kind of going along and adding the new information as it came in, well, then when we would have come back, it would have been incremental. Okay, hey, we have this new cost. We found this as we're finishing off our design. Instead, we ended up with a 3-year jump. And so we feel the pain all at once. So that it's hard to get it all at once. News like that, it's easier to hear it. Okay, we found this, we're going to make this adjustment. And then by the time we get to the end, we've made several adjustments and everybody's perfectly comfortable with it because we've heard it as we've gone along. And so that made it kind of tough. On the plus side, the TSIP thing was a wonderful thing for the project. At the time, we were scrambling to put it all together. But it ended up bringing what, 20 million? Brought $20 million into the project that the measure didn't have to pay, which of course is a pretty good thing for the project. And additionally, and this is something we heard from headquarters recently, actually even today, is that there were no guarantees on some projects that right now they're a little short on TSIP money. So they're looking around the state at projects that, you know, should they continue or where can we take money from? And so in this case, we got approval from Angel Pyle, who's the head of SB1. She said, yes, we will give the money to this project. So I think we're up to what, 28 million or something to that effect now of TSIP. So all of that money doesn't come from the measure. So I don't know if that makes sense. So we got stuck. And so that's bad because then we get 3 years later, we get bad news. On the other hand, when we jumped at the opportunity, it took a big bite out of the total project cost.
I have just to follow up on a couple of things. I understand the difficulties in that. I think it might be useful in the future when projects like this are being put on estimates, when there's a big question mark on something, to identify that maybe this is not included, because when something happens like this is a huge chunk of money. I'm uncomfortable with this, but I'm also quite aware, you know, this is a project. They're talking about what's being done here in 156, been going on since the 1960s, and that's, you know, that's probably half the people in this room probably weren't even around when they were talking about this. So that a lifetime it takes for a project to go through is really unfortunate. Much less thinking that, you know, Highway 1, which was planned in the 50s, and probably gonna take 2 lifetimes. But beyond that, it's just you know, it has to be done. I understand. I'm just uncomfortable with the with how it's kind of laid out here, how it's developed.
Understood.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I was here and I remembered completely. Don't ever try to go to San Francisco after 2 o'clock on a Sunday. That was just the deal. But what I wanted to ask might be more a question for Todd. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to know, one, I think this project is critical to all of us. You know, and honestly speaking, from the hospitality side on the peninsula, we really need this so badly because of the problems that we all see on Sundays, as an example. But can you tell me what this does to our Measure X pot that we have, so to speak? How is this going to deplete our Measure X funding? Or how are we going to look at the end of this once we put this much, another 10 million into this project?
That's a great question. So the Measure X has, I believe, 30 million programmed to the Castroville Boulevard interchange project. So this 10 million is, there was only about 389,000 previously programmed. So this 10 million is really kind of the first influx of that 30 million. So we have more than enough that's dedicated to the project. What we actually have in the bank, I think, is closer to $60 million. So we do have cash on hand to be able to.
It won't interact with any of the other programs that we have. scheduled down the line.
Correct.
Great, thank you very much.
We've been accruing the cash and waiting for these big projects to come and spend the money. And we have IMGEN starting this year. We have the Cirque Busway in a year and a half. And then 156 Kestrel Boulevard is the first three big expensive regional projects. So we're lucky enough that revenue's been high and we've been able to bank it. We've always anticipated to potentially have to bond, and we're not going to have to do that at this point for this project. So it's in pretty good shape relative to this additional cost.
Great, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Representative Scott?
Yeah, so my question's about utilities. And the challenges that you're having. Are any of the utilities going to be relocated into the city limits or county property? And I ask that because in Delray Oaks, we have the Fort Tag project, and some of the utilities are going to be relocated outside the Caltrans right away. And so it has to go through city approval or, county approval.
Sure. So the good question. So the answer is yes and no. So we're trying to relocate all of, we're encouraging utility companies to relocate within our right. That's plenty, because our environmental studies covers just basically what our impact is. So anything outside of our area of impact that we've studied already is something that we don't want to open up again, because we kind of jumped through a lot of hoops to get through these permits. So we're encouraging all the utility companies to get within our right of way. That being said, there are some areas that we've identified where we're a little bit outside of our right of way. So yeah, we're aware that there might be some spots where we can't avoid as far as.
Yeah, so I would recommend that you engage those cities or the county early, because it kind of came to us a little bit late with our project. So, just give them a heads up that it's a possibility. I think that'll be helpful.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
So I appreciate the timeline that you put forward for, I'm going to call it the at-risk timeline. It seems incredibly aggressive. So can you just tell us what is the contingency should we not get to June 2024? And are we
Sure.
ready to go?
So the one thing that we do have in our kind of bag of tricks here is we have the leeway to do what we call an at risk advertise as well. So that can happen within a couple weeks after, say, RTO. That's kind of the first contingency that we have. We're hoping to not go that route, but I think that's something that will shave off a couple months. So there's a little bit of leeway in that, but it's I agree, it's really aggressive, but I think this being our second request at an extension of funds, I think we're going to kind of like I said, work collaboratively to kind of push PG&E, because that is the last thing that's left. Everything else is done. We can get to that RTL. We just have to keep pushing.
Is there a third bite at the apple? We don't get PG&E to do what they need to do, and we don't get the 2-week at-risk RTL.
I'd rather not.
I mean, I don't want it.
No, I
think we heard pretty clearly. Like,
agreed. No. And there may or may not be. I just think that the chance that we got with CDC staff for them to be able to not just automatically say no, and for them to see that that this is stuff that's out of control. Maybe I don't want to speak for CDC staff, but this is something we've jumped through. We've gone through all these other challenges, and now it's like we can't control ourselves. So I think that's why CDC staff agreed to this next by the apple, as you said, because they realize that this is out of our control right now. So maybe, but I don't know that.
It's very unlikely.
Yeah.
It would be almost unprecedented to have that happen. So there's no way we should consider it as an option.
I think this.
I think that was really my point. And it's like, so what is? I hear everything that you're doing. I hear we're collaborating. Like, what is it that actually needs to be done to get PG&E to hit this timeline that we're already extending for them?
Sure.
For 2 years.
Just a quick comment. This issue of PG&E and AT&T is not localized to this county. It's a statewide issue. As a matter of fact, AT&T on a couple of other projects were actually going to court because they basically just said, we're not talking. And so we recognize that we started with it a year and a half ago. Let me put this also in perspective. It's really crazy how it's flipped. Utilities used to be one of the easiest things to get done on a project. It was the coastal development permit used to be like, that's an impossible hurdle, or getting the long-toed salamander is a fully protected species and virtually impossible to do. And actually we ended up passing legislation that allowed us to actually touch it. And I don't think anyone saw the utility thing coming. It's just such a bizarre thing to have difficulty with that. However, at this point, we've had a year and a half of experience of this kind of delay or just them ignoring us. And so we are not going to wait around for them to decide whether they're going to communicate with us or not. We are on it now. And I know that Todd has used his connections with the utility companies, and we're meeting once a month with PG&E management. And I don't even want it to get close to us asking that question that shall be not asked right in the future about should we go back for the third. So we are very, very serious about making sure that we keep the pressure on, and potentially even, I know this, although Caltrans can't do it, there is political pressure that can be brought to bear too. And that may be something that you talk about at some point, but yeah, it's not, this utility thing it's not acceptable.
Right, I mean, political pressure, that'd be like the next step, right? But I think we have a schedule from PG&E, so I think what we're gonna do now is just gonna keep pushing them as much as we can. And then if we don't see any progress, then I think we should step up our pressure here.
Do you mind putting the actual slide back up for me? I'm gonna go to
2 points. I think the time for political pressure is now. Not when they say, they have called us back. So, and that's what I was getting to, someone said Todd is already working his magic. Now it's for Todd to tell us what magic needs us to help him with at the state, right? Not waiting for them to give him the no and then come back. We should be leaning into this a little bit more. But my original point went to, I want to pull a thread that Supervisor Church had about this surprise of $18 million, right? And I heard something about we got stuck. I still don't understand that part about we got stuck. I think when we knew things went up 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, we could have got an update. I don't understand the stuck part, because I'm going to the next big items that we say we have coming down the road, and then we don't want to have the same thing happen there. So it may have been some stuff during COVID, but it's just, a little better practice. If you guys run into significant increases, give us the $2 million increase. Don't wait to 18 million. I know the rest of them are not as expensive as this, but I just want to pull on that thread. I don't, well, maybe
more expensive.
Maybe more. But I just don't want it to pass by that it was just only one person concerned with the way the information flowed out about this significant increase. But I think you can handle that. That's all.
If I could just respond to both those questions. The cost increase was the information we did not receive until the revised engineer's estimate came out last time. So we were sharing it as soon as we got it. We did ask for that several times. It just wasn't available until just recently. So that is part of what's kind of stings about this, and finding that out so recently. And then as far as political pressure on PG&E, what I am doing, I've been talking with Senator Laird's staff now for months about this, and it's elevated up to Senator Laird's chief of staff, who's contacting PG&E, wanting updates on the project. We've talked, Mayor Rios and I talked about filing a protest with the California Public Utilities Commission on this. And we've been debating that with Caltrans staff. I mean, they do have a working relationship right now, so you don't quite want to, piss off the team that you're working with when they finally start to work with you. So we were kind of debating what the right time for that was. But primarily, I've been working with Senator Laird and staff, and we talked about this when we were up at the legislative day in Sacramento with him personally, and then with his staff ever since. And that communication just has been ramped up recently. So that's where we're at. That's the magic. That's all I have. And taking that further, we should spread out from that and find out other avenues to try and push.
Well, let me just say with this, I agree with that. I appreciate that. I think you got some pretty powerful people at this board, particularly our supervisors that know people up there. I'm just saying, if you need our help, let us know before.
Thank you.
And I just want to follow up on Mayor's comments there. I think, now's the time to put that pressure on there. It's not get up to the, to the end of the game and have the clock run out. The other, thing to take consideration is, I'm not quite sure what the boundaries are, but I think this might be part of a Assembly Member Revis's district if it goes to Castroville. I'm not sure. It's right around there. I think it is. So, he's going to be speaker. I think you got a pretty hefty player right there we can draw upon. I think we need to get involved in this really quite quickly.
All right, I'm gonna quickly take this out to the public, see if we have any public input on this item. We've not yet done that. So I'm gonna invite anybody in the room first to make comments on this item. Hearing none, I'm gonna see if we have any hands up via Zoom.
No.
See confirmation that no hands are raised in the Zoom. I'll bring it back to this body.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get the comment there. I would just wanted to say that I really appreciate all the comments and questions from this board. As you all know, this is a very, very big deal for the entire county, especially the peninsula. But I wanted to go back to that timeline that you had shown from January to April, and I think you were saying that's the sweet spot where you might elevate things to be able to go to bid sooner.
Right.
And I appreciate the fact that we don't want to be left with just May and then just June, because the vulnerability is going to be January to May in that advertising. Because as we all know, in contracting in all of our cities and counties that are doing this, is all of our projects are coming in tremendously higher in bids. We're waiting for engineering. We're waiting for soil testing. We're waiting for the bidding process, because San Luis Obispo can't graduate enough engineers, or Berkeley or Davis or wherever they come from. So we have so many large projects statewide. Everyone is desperate for personnel to be able to move these things in the time frame. So I appreciate your update. Appreciate the unfortunate increase in the costs. And we know that option one years ago, we were looking at a bypass with a toll road. And now we are left with what I think is really a great project that pulls it together in phase one. So I'm satisfied to see that we are right on the cusp of being able to solve the greatest problem we have on 156. And this is an improved project in my view, rather than trying to take it all on. Taking on phase one of this just feels like it fits. But thank you for your presentation and update.
Are those glowing words and motion for approval of the action as requested by staff?
I'll make the motion to.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any final comments? Seeing none, can we get a roll call vote on this?
District 1, alternate Gonzalez.
Yes.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzalez.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Aye.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Road.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Eloise. And thank you for the presentation and the item. Please say thank you to our guardian angel Kyle for continuing to find money. With that, the floor is yours, sir, for our next presentation.
Morning, board. My name is Doug Bilsey. I'm principal engineer at TAMC. And project delivery on challenging projects often requires unique approaches, as you just saw. There's challenges. We want projects to have the resources that we need to be successful and to avoid surprises. So with that, we hired a corridor advisor, Tony Harris from Point C. We did this last year. And this is one of the periodic reviews of Measure X projects on state highway system. And what it does is it allows us to have a third-party review, somewhat an outside look at risks and opportunities. So Tony came on board. He did help a bit with 156, but that's almost at the end of it. So now we're going to take a look at two projects specifically, US 101 south of Salinas and Highway 68, and give you these updates on a periodic basis. So no surprise. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tony.
Good morning, directors, and thanks, Doug. As Doug said, my name is Tony Harris. I have the pleasure of working with TAMC as a board organizer. And it's an honor to be here this morning. One of my favorite areas of the state. I'm based in Sacramento, so anytime you want me to come over and give you an update, I'm here. Just let me know. Okay.
Not on a Sunday.
Not on a Sunday. Okay, it's not. I got it. All right. What first I thought I would do is, explain what is my role. And Doug mentioned some of this, so I won't go too much into this. Early on, when I was first hired, and I sat down with TAMC and also with Caltrans District of Cloud Management, and I was asked to focus on these three projects, right? State Route 68, 101 South Salinas, and also 156. The approach that I always do, and my background is, I am one of those civil engineers, graduated out of North Carolina State University. I've been working in transportation for over 30 years. I worked at the Federal Highway Administration, then I worked at Caltrans for almost 20 years. Design engineer, ran project management statewide, was district director, and then I worked in the director's office as chief deputy and acting director of the department. Then my wife said, enough. You need to have a balance in life. And so I've been working in the private sector, well, I'm not sure what balance my life, but I've been working in the private sector in that regards. So the focus and when I work with the team is not just looking at the schedule and where they're on implementation, but something I learned over the years is you got to think about how you're going to pay for this project. Not just get it designed, but how are you going to pay for it? Otherwise design is going to sit on the shelf. So I'm always thinking about that as we go through the process. And I coordinate closely with the project teams at both TAMC and Caltrans in the process. So first, I'm gonna start on 68. And really what I want to make sure all of the board knows is that TAMC and Caltrans, we are planning a public meeting to give an update to the community, July 18th, 4:30 to 7:30, and it'll be at the WeatherTech Raceway, we're going to say so. The purpose of that is it's going to be like an open house format where people can come in and they can see the status of the project. We can walk through why we're proposing to do this project. And we're going to review the alternatives that is currently being heard. And we want to make sure we inform the public when and where in the process will be their opportunities to provide input as we're developing the project. So the need of the project, most of you in this room know it just as well as I know it, going all the way back to my days at Federal Highways covering this area. You got delays on the 6-8 quarter. And then you also have collisions, with a lot of those collisions caused by those delays, which is mostly ratings along the way. And then you have such a scenic and important wildlife corridor that the highway is a barrier, right? That sometimes results in unfortunate collisions between vehicles and the important wildlife. So what do we want to accomplish with this project? We want to improve traffic.
flow throughout the entire quarter. Of course, and first and foremost is safety. It's important, and it has the connectivity between the waterways corridors. And then as part of the way things are working with funding nowadays at the intersection locations, how do we not only facilitate cars, vehicles, but also pedestrians and bicyclists traffic? This is a project location map. I'm not going to talk about each one indication. I just want to point out so you can see what the locations are. There are 9 intersections and there are 5 wildlife corridors that is throughout that will be included in the evaluation of the environmental document. So the stages of delivering projects, some of this before, I stole this from Doug, so I give Doug credit. Taking a very complex project delivery process and just simplifying it. So you start out by looking at what the needs are and then identifying viable concepts, which has gone through this. And then where we are today is we're in the environmental review process. You'll see later on in the schedule that I will point out to you that the goal and intent is to release the draft environmental document in September for public review. So we are well into that process. At the end of that process, the actual proposed alternative will be selected. Then we'll go into design, right-of-way permitting, and then ultimately we're going to do construction. Throughout the process, we want to have public input. Now, I will say we're behind on that. We are working to try to create more opportunities for that public input, starting with the meeting in July and carrying on throughout the environmental process and throughout design and construction. And of course, seeking funding. I will mention some thoughts we have in about how we can approach seeking funding for this project, similar to what was done in seeking funding for the 56 Pasadena project. So the alternatives that are in consideration, when the draft environmental document come out, there are 3 alternatives. One is no bill, right, which you're required to have. The other 2 are improvements at 9 intersections with 5 wildlife crossings. And the difference in the alternatives is at the 9 intersections, one alternative is roundabouts. Another alternative is traffic signals with additional through and turning lanes at the intersection in particular. What is not under consideration and included in the environmental document is a 4-quarter widening to a 4-lane facility. It's also not in consideration of a bypass, a full or partial bypass. It's not under consideration. And then also a managed lane. When I say managed lane, what is meant in this situation was an additional lane down the center of the roadway that could be bi-directional, one direction in the morning peak hour, opposite direction in the PM peak hour. Those were things that were identified in the initial project study report that as further evaluation, they need to no longer be in consideration. More detailed information as to how that conclusion was reached will be in the draft environmental document that comes out in September. So here's the schedule. Draft coming out in September. We expect to be out for a 60-day review period. Part of what we want to do in July is explain to people what's coming out, how they engage, how they provide input during that time period. I don't like just dropping thousand pages of document out and stuff and say comment. I like educating people so they can be active within the process and moving forward. The goal is to complete the environmental process and select the alternative by the fall 2024. And then right away, and actually it's really right away start, right? We'll probably start the right away process in the fall of 2025, if not sooner. Design committed in summer 2027, and then begin construction winter 2028 and end. Now, that's a very long timeline. I get it. And one of the things in my role as core advisor and working with the team is looking at any and other opportunities to advance projects, to get results out there sooner. So you see that little comment at the bottom is, we could be looking at, once we know what the solution is, can we stage some of these improvements instead of trying to do them all at once, So that is work we would undertake. Once we get through the public review period on environmental document and we have input, then we can work through that process. So currently, primary costs we have, and this is total costs, including design, permitting, right away and everything. The range is 150
to 215 million. That information will be updated later this fall. I take to heart the comments I heard before is come back, be in front of you often. I've been asked to be in front of you often, all right? And I will be in front of you often, and I will be pushing the team for updated information. And it's not just me, but different team members will be here as needed to inform you. The potential funding sources, of course, you have your Measure X program, which is fantastic because what's fantastic about it is it allows you to leverage other potential state and federal opportunities. I listed some of those. You have your portion of the STIP program, but then Caltrans has, their state highway operation protection program. We learned recently that Caltrans is looking at doing a project through this quarter that we are going to be working with Caltrans, looking at how can we leverage those improvements, which is pavement, in conjunction with this project so that we have basically a benefit to both project and cost sharing and funding sharing. So that's a strategy that have been employed in other locations. Senate Bill 1 program. You heard about the trade corridor enhancement program, which was very valuable for the 156 Council bill. Looking at the other programs for Senate Bill 1, we think the congested corridors is a good target to pursue funding for. And also the local partnership program, which is a program that matches dollar for dollar of your sales tax for transportation program. Applications are due, we expect to be due for the next cycle in the fall of 2024. And our intent is to make sure we are in a position to submit applications for this quarter and those improvements. A key piece of that is getting the environmental document done so we know what we're applying in that regards. So with that, I want to transition over to 101 South of Salinas. What I thought I would start with is just some of the key goals that have been really solidified between TAMC and Caltrans and trying to move forward with it. First and foremost is everybody knows safety is a big issue in this location. And we want to find ways to reduce fatalities and severe accidents sooner versus later. How we do that? We still need to work through that. We also want to make sure whatever solutions we come up with are implementable, all right? That we can actively get funding that aligns with what some of the current transportation policies are now. So we can basically enhance that safety, but also support the key economic prosperity in this quarter and also enhance the surrounding communities. We intend to use community engagement to keep the stakeholders informed, but also make sure we're getting to the right solutions and to build consensus, because it takes everybody to get a project implemented and funded. And we want to be in constant dialogue and communication. Now, the environmental for this project is behind State Route 68, but we want to strive and look at ways to try to advance it so that we can potentially submit applications in the fall of 2024. One of the California Transportation Commission requirements is that the environmental document for any project you submit an application has to be completed, no later than 6 months after the program is adopted. All right. So if the application has been submitted in the fall of 2024, that program probably will be adopted in early summer of 2025, which means we need to do our best to get this environmental document done, if at all possible, before the end of 2025. So just to give you some context there. As we are working through solutions, we want to look at opportunities that we can design and construct this basis, because this is a big project that has a long timeline, but we want to bring solutions as soon as we can, once we know what the ultimate solution is, and find ways to move forward. And then we want to look at some alternative delivery approaches. The typical standard approach is you do the environmental, you design it, you get the right of way, you bid it, you go construct it. There's different methods out there now, like construction manager, general contractor, and different approaches, or, instead of Caltrans delivering all of it, maybe other parties doing certain components of it so that we get results and solutions out there sooner versus later. Okay. Flooding. All the flooding situation that is taking place. These are a few of the pictures of some of the flooding in the project area. Recently, Caltrans and the county met and started coordinating, and we'll be working to identify solutions. Some of those solutions probably will be
included in the scope of improvements of this project. Some of the solutions will probably be outside of this project, but we know it's important to incorporate this where it can into the scope of this project, and that's work that's actively will be taking place to move forward. Again.
You seen that?
It's not going. It's not going.
Mine's moving.
Maybe it has control of everything.
Just the point on this slide while we're stuck, we're also working with the railway. A lot of the culverts that are currently clogged that are contributing, not positively contributing, over by. So we'll look at them as well. Next round.
I think what I had next for the second time is I had the stages of delivering projects was one of the slides I wanted to show. And what I was going to point out is we're at the beginning of the environmental process in this quarter as we move forward. I will also say current status of what we're going to be working on is we've been working on surveys out in the field with Caltrans, traffic analysis. We've been working on and identifying some preliminary concepts of the improvements. Our goal and target is to have a public meeting in the fall of this year. Share and get input and comments and feedback. I think currently right now, our environmental document is looked at as being completed in summer of 2026. So that means we need to find ways to carve 6 months off of that. So we'll be able to move forward with that overall process in particular. And just going from memory is on the slide right now. So with that, I will pause and open up for questions, just so we can keep the process moving. If they get the slides up, I go back.
As long as it's only the slideshow that's paused and not the project.
We're not paused.
I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. Are there any questions or comments from members?
As I saw the slide about the flooding in that area, I guess maybe this is more, I'm not sure if it's within your purview, but as we saw what happened in Pajaro and infrastructure failing, do we know if there's any special pushes to accelerate or help fund any sort of projects or programs relating to flooding?
Not exactly my purview.
Yeah.
All right, so I will acknowledge that right up front. I know one of the things that we have talked about with Caltrans is looking at a larger holistic assessment of how we solve the funding in this area. And then I think once we identify solutions, both short-term and long-term, having a very clear implementation plan on how we do it and use that to pursue funding. So, but I'm more than happy to work with TAMC staff and others to identify.
Going off in what you're saying is because we're looking at areas that have not been, we're talking about issues of equity. I
Yes,
mean,
we
I'll
are.
put it at that. Very similar intersections, similar communities up in Watsonville and connecting us. So I'm just wondering if there's, added pressure that could be, added or something that would help accelerate any portion of this project.
Equity is extremely important in any and all things we do. And communicating with the public.
Recording in progress.
Communicate with the public, but also identifying solutions in particular. That's one of the things we as the team has been talking a lot about since I came aboard, and actually the team was talking about before I came aboard. So I'm not going to take, I want to bring that to the table. So yes, I think we will, for lack of a better word, use that to our advantage to try to get greater attention and greater opportunities for funding as we go forward. In these SB1 applications, there's a section that's now required to say, hey, what was the community outreach you did? What are the disadvantaged communities did you communicate them? Not just did you communicate to them, but what did they say? All right. And then what did you do with it? All right. That has, concrete or metal bottoms. A lot of time it's natural on the bottom. They have facilitated iron tin. And we just talked about this, Doug and I, last week, that we needed to have a picture of one. And there was one recently built that I can't.
Yeah, it's up 17 up in Santa Cruz area. So we're going to have pictures of that, but it's a big tunnel that that is comfortable for larger animals to cross.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna take this out in the public. I did see one hand raised. I see Mike Weaver. Mike Weaver will go ahead and give you the ability to unmute yourself. You've got 2 minutes to share your public comment with the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. Yeah, the sound that this meeting is had issues with the sound cutting in and out. I missed probably 3 or 4 minutes of the last presentation. There was just no sound and then it came back in. But I want to comment on the Highway 68 issue. As you may all know, it was initially designed for a maximum of 16,000 vehicles a day, and now I believe it's up about 30,000. A large amount of the development along the Highway 68 corridor and at either end, the mitigation measure for that development was going to be the Corral de Terre bypass. That's why the official plan lines were adopted. Environmental review was done to move that idea forward. You're going to need environmental review to just take an eraser and erase it. If you want meaningful improvement to Highway 68, you're going to need to bypass the San Venancio intersection where there's no room for a roundabout, and the Corral de Terra intersection, which is referred to as a choke point, and go by them. That will make meaningful improvement to the highway. The roundabouts is just wishful thinking. It's not going to improve the ability to get from one end of 68 to the other. That is my comment. You're going to need to study that bypass as an alternative and not just take the big eraser and erase it and say it's no longer being considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Do you have any other hands up via Zoom? No. All right, see no other hands up. Nobody going forward in the room. I'll go ahead and bring it back. With that, thank you for the presentation. I just want to comment on the piece about the 101 specifically on flooding. We had a period last year where I was in conversations with our public works team where we were talking about closing the last way to get through the valley north to south. With Nelson Berg out, we would have been routing people all the way down a backup 5 and over the grade through the Central Valley, which is absolutely insane to think that that could happen here in the Slates Valley. And I know that there's a lot of attention on ag, but I don't think the infrastructure needed to handle the amount of water that we're seeing now with increased flows is there. And so we need those investments as well. I know folks want to continue to focus on sediment runoff and existing laws, but big picture, if we want to keep this corridor open, want to eat, you got to have both. And it's got to have site systems maintaining those in a way that will allow us to guarantee passage for the safety of our communities, because for us, that's access to a hospital during those moments which are not the safest moments to be on a road here. And so I appreciate all the work you're doing. I do think this project is going to help address some of those major needs. And I appreciate this board's continued support of those projects to look at the needs of keeping our travelers safe going north and south, east to west, as long as we continue to have a housing crunch. The folks from South County will continue traveling to the peninsula, and we need to be there to serve the needs of our residents and back and forth. We're intricately connected through that flex curve. But all these projects are critical, so thank you all for your support of both projects. With that, we'll conclude the presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. With that, we're at our reports from transportation providers. I'll go to Caltrans first.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I'll start with talking about a couple of our active construction projects, starting with the Big Sur Coast. And I have some good announcements about the work that we're doing out there and the accomplishments we're making. First, I'll start with Gilbert Slide. That's our southernmost slide and the southernmost closure. So the good news for this is that we are scheduled to open that this Friday, May 26th, which will extend or which will move the southernmost closure from that current spot up to the middle spot right now. So it's one of the things we were striving to do ahead of the Memorial Day weekend. So it's great news. The middle slide is Paul's slide, and that one is the real big slide that we have out there. Right now, our crews are working 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and we're still working toward having a more refined estimate at this location. We expect it'll be several months as we continue to work on that slide. And for comparison, the reason that that one is the big active construction project that we're going to see out there for longer than some of the other slides is because that's the site where we had 500,000 cubic yards of material at that location. And if you compare that to some of the other locations that we've seen along the coast, those other locations are 30,000. So it's just orders of magnitude larger in terms of the amount of material that we have out there that we're working on getting cleared up. The northernmost slide, so I'm working south to north. The northernmost slide is the Danny Creek slide, and that is immediately north of that large Paul slide. And that one is also expected to be completed in mid-July. So we're working our way toward that large middle slide, and that'll be the last one that we're able to address. So great news that we're going to have some openings this week and then in mid-July, and then we'll keep working on that one location. So after this Friday, just as a summary, there'll be about 5 miles of highway slides still closed, and that'll be between the Paul slide and then the northern slide of Danny's Creek. Moving on to Highway 198, I have an update on the closure for Highway 198. We are nearing completion with the paving that we're doing out there. We're scheduled to complete the paving on May 30th. Right now, we're still investigating some locations that we're looking at the geotechnical aspects of it, and we're looking at our geotechnical division's determinations. They're doing an observation to make sure that it's safe for opening, and we'll continue to monitor that. And so that's going to be another thing that we're looking at until we can or before we can open it. Residents of the Priest Valley area have access to Highway 198 and will remain accessible through 198 at the post mile 20.8. So the hard closures near the very eastern limit of the Monterey County boundary. And then the final construction project that I'd like to report on is our Camp Roberts Safety Roadside Rest area. The work that we've been doing at that is now completed. It's still closed, and the reason for it still being closed is because we are waiting on PG&E for PG&E to reconnect all of our utilities. So all of the construction work is completed, still waiting on PG&E for that one. So those are our active construction projects. I do want to make one other announcement about a statewide campaign that launched a couple weeks ago. The Office of Traffic Safety, in coordination with the State Transportation Agency, Caltrans, and California Highway Patrol, launched a campaign called the Go Safety Movement. And the intention of that is to establish a safety culture, a strong safety culture. It's also meant to raise awareness of some of the high rates of collisions, and especially those that lead to fatalities and serious injuries. And so the campaign, if you Google search Go Safety Movement, Office of Traffic Safety, Go Safety Movement, you'll find more on the campaign. Right now, the Office of Traffic Safety has a survey called the Community Call to Action Survey. And what they're looking for are potential safety champions that would like to be involved and to help to promote community level involvement in traffic safety initiatives. And that's something that's also important to Monterey County. So I would like to share that today. Those are my announcements. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. Highway 1 is in my district all the way through. But I did, and thank you very much for the work at Gilbert's slide and at Danny's slide. All of that is terrific. Paul's slide, of course, just is the bet noir of everything that we could ever worry about on Highway 1. Has there ever been any serious look at completely changing the road and going up over the ridge at that point, rather than continuing to invest in done? I mean, that the last slide that we have there, as you well know, hundreds of thousands of tons of debris, as you mentioned. It's just going to happen again because it continues to be fresh and will continue to move. So has there been any serious look at doing that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Is it something that we should be pursuing?
Well, I don't know. I think the starting point would be with a planning study, and one of the Caltrans funded planning programs that's tied into climate change and mitigation for climate change will have an upcoming cycle toward the end of the summer or early fall. And I'll put a plug in for that as a potential place to start with a planning study. I don't believe that idea has been looked at least not recently. The most recent corridor plan was our travel demand management plan that looked at managing the, the different access and demand out there. And I don't think it was looked at that in that corridor plan or the precursor to that and the, about 15, 20 years ago. So I'll put a plug in for the Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program as being a potential, that would be a eligible type of corridor study or planning study to look at. And that would be a funding source for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It'd be wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to thank you. I know we've been in contact for traffic light timing. That has been so impactful for those residents. Believe it or not, I mean, they just changed the timing on, I think, 10 seconds. But the amount of cars that it's allowed to go through, I guess it's been an issue for like 10 years in the neighborhood. And so now more cars can flow through there. So I really appreciate that. Residents are really ecstatic about that. And of course, when we celebrate victories, they bring on more needs. So I'll be forward to some of the timing, but since you guys were so efficient at it, there's just some things about people trying to get out of church, but only having 10 seconds and only 4 cars. So those are the things that, really impact residents. So I am interested in the traffic champion group or program that you mentioned, the striping on Laurel Bridge. There was, I don't know if I shared this the last time, but when I talked to residents, Laurel Bridge has no striping, like literally almost no striping. So residents can't see at night, especially our seniors. And so people would even make the comment that when they paint the lines on Laurel Bridge, I'll have faith in government again. And so that's happening. And so I appreciate you working with our city to make sure that happens. Like I said, the most reflective. And then funding, I just did a video recently about praising Caltrans for the funding on San Juan Grade Road for sidewalks and lighting. I didn't know what a big issue it was until I posted that it's coming, and people, it's a very dangerous walkway. And if I'm sure a lot of you have gone on San Juan Grade Road, and they're going to put sidewalks in. So people who walk, who haven't, that they have to walk or jog, have expressed very much appreciation. And finally, thank you to the City Marina, Michelle Maury, for keeping me in the loop on the Imgen Parkway widening project. So, there's a lot of stuff that's very exciting. I had no idea about TAMC. So I really appreciate Caltrans' support with all the. Thank you.
I have a question on the Highway 1. Are we still on, with the slides? Can we push that off the edge, or do we have to truck everything out of every slides still? There was, what's the ruling on that?
I think it's a coastal permitting question, and I think for the slides out there right now, we are moving the materials out
by truck, each truckload.
But I believe the prior one, we were able to push them down.
Right. I mean, this is to push it, to truck it out is so incredibly expensive. It's so time consuming. And we're also polluting the air with the trucks. We're damaging the road as we're doing it. And if there was no road there, it would fall down to the ocean anyway. I mean, when are we going to make some changes or how can we get this to change so that we're not just hauling, we're creating more expense, more pollution, more everything, instead of just pushing the dirt where we naturally go when it comes off the slide. I think that we really got to start to look at this and make some sense out of it. It's a waste of money and waste of time. And and they say, well, it's going to affect the fish. Well, the fish, when they built Highway 1, they used explosives and blew up, and the fish came back. They didn't go anywhere. So I think we have the same kind of issues where we're going to have to change this somehow. And I don't know how, through you or through our political people or what we have to do, but I think that's change. Okay. Thank you. Christina?
2 things. When Caltrans hauls out, as you're saying, where does it go? Does it go into a holding area or space? Because we've just heard about a project on 156 that's going to need new soil, right? So I'm just wondering, does your agency sort of forecast, look ahead, have any local?
I don't know, but I can find out what we're looking at right now for the current slides. But we also agree that our goal is to try to clear up the road and get it open as fast as possible. So if we're going about the way that we could do that the quickest.
Do you have a local area where it gets, I know this from my point of view in my city, we had a holding area. Engineering firm that had blocks. It's a bit of an eyesore after a while, but it was a.
I can look into that.
Secondly, I have ambassadors for you. I just passed by a school yesterday where a member of Gary Anderson's daughter was doing fifth grade, second grade, traffic safety crossing intersections. So I hope to possibly entertain the idea that you reach out to our local schools. I have a really cute picture that I shared with her. They had earphones and were directing the children how to safely cross this. I like the ambassador.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Caltrans. I don't see Bill. Is there anybody else from the airport with us here today? Well, on his behalf, fly Monterey. Christine?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Lisa Reinheimer. For those of you who don't know, Carl Sidoric is taking a well-earned vacation at the moment. So Saturday, May 20th, and now we'll be operating every 10-15 minutes throughout the Monterey Peninsula as the summer tourist revival picks up on Memorial Day weekend. We'll be operating it through Labor Day, that Monday. Also, line 25, which goes between Salinas and CSUMB, is temporarily suspended for the summer season as the CSUMB students head off to doing whatever they do during the summer. Definitely miss those days. And then finally, I wanted to remind folks that we have our Surf Transit Fair and Family Fun Day on June 10th at our Marina Transit Exchange from 10 to 2. We have some of our partners joining us at the event. We'll have an electric vehicle bus on display, and we'll do a tour that goes from the Marina Transit Exchange along Highway 1 to downtown Monterey, and sort of simulating the surf service when it comes into implementation. We'll also have some renderings of wall facades, landscaping, bus stop shelters, mobility hub, and what have you. So I hope you all can attend. TAMC has been a tremendous partner in helping us leverage our state and federal funding for the project. So thank you for that. And I'll stop there and answer any questions if you have them.
All right, seeing none. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Dave next, Dave from Embark.
Hi, good morning. Rich Stedman is out at a conference this week, so I'm taking his place. Update on our zero emission school bus program. We're still looking at supply chain issues and much higher demand with the national grants for schools for replacing their school buses with all electric models. So we hope to see deliveries by the end of this year. But we remain hopeful anyway. Motor vehicle emission reduction grant program application period is open through the end of June. We have up to $400,000 available for projects for public agencies for transportation grants to reduce emissions. So for example, we have grants available for medium duty electric fleet electrification. We'll have, we've funded in the past refuse haulers and street sweepers. We've had 3 electric vehicles utility vehicles for the city of Salinas. We've also funded adaptive traffic signal control projects. The city of Monterey has taken a lot of advantage of that, as well as the city of Salinas. Roundabout projects are popular with the program. We've got one project at Davis and Reservation Roads with the county of Monterey. And then bicycle infrastructure is also available as well. Public agency electric vehicle replacements of $10,000 are available as well. And then we have a residential side of the program, which will start in July. Electric bicycle incentives of $500 for low-income applicants. And for electric vehicle incentive program, we have $2,000 incentive available for all electric vehicles. And the low-income applicants will receive double the incentive. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Any questions for David? All right, seeing none, with absolutely 1 minute left on the clock, we're gonna actually see if we have any reports or on meetings attended by board members at the expense of the agency. All right, seeing none, then with that minute left, we're gonna go to the executive director's report.
Okay, I'll use all of it. Just wanted to remind everyone or let you know the annual report for last year came out and was mailed out last week. So hopefully you received it. If you'd like any extra copies, we have in the TAMC office. Wanted to note that there will be a California Transportation Commission town hall meeting in San Benito, September 20th and 21st of this year. When we have more details, we'll send out a save the date notice. This is a really good opportunity to meet with the commissioners and the staff and have some face time. And with that, we are working, Mara and I at AMBAG, we're working on AMBAG and TAMC hosting a CTC meeting May 2024 here in Monterey County. And that's great timing when we talk about when we'll be looking for applying for those next round of SB1 grants in the fall of 2024. And we want to have the commissioners here and be able to highlight our projects. So we're really excited about the timing of having them meet here. So there'll be a lot more work involved in getting that scheduled. And so more to come when that happens, but I just wanted to share that news. So it's very exciting.
That's it. All right. Any questions on the director's report?
Yeah, I just want to give kudos to your staff for an excellent report. The faculty from English and Spanish. A little of less, so a lot of information packed into a small space. So good job on that. And also through the director, I wanted to say thank you to your staff for donating to our contract. Is it okay to mention it now? Sort of tangible. Directors report. Your staff donated a skateboard and a Razor scooter. There's a video here. Everybody can watch. Over between 800 and 1,000 people attended this event, which was fantastic. So thank you for your staff. Perhaps TAMC might want to best.
All right. Any public comment on that presentation? See nobody in the room. Our hands are being Zoom. Glenn?
I don't have a comment on this, but general comment.
Sure. So then our last item is announcements or comments from.
That's kind of jumping ahead. I'm going to go there. When I was coming to the meeting today, Supervisor Adams and I got kind of locked out, and that's perfectly fine. If you didn't want it there anyway. But what concerned me about it is we really should be open for the public, and I think that door's got to be open the whole time we're meeting. I just think it's inappropriate that it's locked. We don't know if somebody's out there wanting to come in or not. We either need to meet in a different place or we need to have a way for that door to be open. Why is that door closed anyway?
We'll need to check with the county supervisor to make a check with that staff.
Let's check with the supervisor.
I don't think we know. It's a security issue with the elections office, but it was open earlier when we first started coming in. That evidently got locked.
I think it should be open the whole time we have a meeting. I agree with you.
Well, I think the hope is to be in the other room, the Cayenne, which is right across, which is nicer, newer. The challenge there is the technology is not quite what we need yet. So one of my pushes with staff is going to get us into that, which is larger as well for public.
Sure.
And we are pushing for that, and with the rest of the county offices being rewired for their have limitations on rooms available. So we're really trying. We're struggling with the internet access here. You noticed it broke up again. We've been running hotspots, trying to keep the meeting going, and it's been very difficult. So we do appreciate those issues.
I just think if we're stuck here, we got to find a way to have that open.
So my. You're-
I just wanted to add a little bit to the Councilmember Anderson's mention about the traffic safety. So it's really heartening as a parent and as an alternate member of this board to see contracts that this agency has let out, working with our public school students, teaching them how to navigate our communities. And then this morning, seeing them set up a traffic garden on the blacktop with the bikes to get the kids kind of knowing how to safely navigate their communities. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on this board and this staff for the work that you're doing to keep our communities safe, our kids safe, and increase that mobility.
All right, my final comment is tonight there is a transportation related focused meeting in Parkfield. If you've never been to Parkfield, it's an opportunity to have a great burger. I'll buy it for you if you join me. 7 p.m. at the further southeast corner of Monterey County. But with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Fortunately.